management and time blocking, and how are we going to fit everything into the week? All of our responsibilities, all of our obligations, all of the things we want to do for us, right? Not necessarily an obligation, but something that we want to indulge in for ourselves, a little self-care or family friend time, that kind of thing. How are we going to fit it all into the week? Because it is a juggling act. We know that, right? So, yeah. All right. For some reason, I'm going to close my computer, my phone, and go back in. Sometimes that's what we have to do. All right. Here we are. Now I can see comments. Now I'll be able to see comments for you guys. Right? Now I need to turn my volume down so I don't hear myself, that feedback. All right. Welcome. It's Tuesday, time for our lunch and learn. For those that are new to the group, those that are new to tuning in, my name is Karen and I am a holistic business coach. I've been coaching almost 20 years. And what does holistic coaching really mean? Do you hear the term? You have an idea of what it might be, but going on 20 years, I'm considered a pioneer in the holistic coaching industry. One of the first women, especially, to be integrating that mind, body, spirit. So through the coaching element, we bring in my training as a Reiki master teacher for that energy work. We bring in the body work as a craniosacral therapist, and we integrate all of that. And we make sure that as we're building strategies for you and your business, that we're keeping in mind all the different elements for you. And that you're making decisions that just aren't strategic, but they're in alignment with who you are and what your needs are. And so we make sure that we are merging and integrating those mind, body, spirits approaching. Now I feel like I'm squinting because the sun is out and it's super bright in here, which I love. Don't get me wrong. I'm loving the sun, but I'm noticing I'm squinting because it is bright. So I'm gonna have to figure out a solution for that, but we'll worry about that at another day. So if you're here live, let me know. If you're catching the replay, hashtag replay. So that way Facebook will notify me that there has been a comment or that people are watching, so I can monitor and give you the support that you might be needing after the fact. If you are a member in the Women's Business Resource Community, you've signed up independently, either as a free account, as a visitor, or as a neighbor, that's our paid membership level, then you can log into your account and join us to get live coaching as we go through this training today. My goal with these lunch and learns is to keep it between 30 and 40 minutes. Sometimes we run over depending upon Q&A, but that's my goal. And today we're going to be talking about how are we going to fit that marketing, the clients, and life all into your week and making sure that you feel balanced and not overwhelmed and not set you up for burnout, right? So the idea of creating your CEO week, kind of your perfect week, is yes, it's going to be adaptable, but you want to be able to stick to it. Sometimes we set ourselves up thinking this is going to be great, I can do all this. And then we hit Wednesday and we're going, what was I thinking? I put way too much on my plate. I didn't think about X, Y, and Z, or this is new, right? Like today, my daughter is home ill. So I normally have every other Tuesday a networking meeting that I belong to. And I had to let them know that I wasn't going to be able to make it today. Because why? My priorities, my first number one priority is my family. So if my young teenager, right, is homesick, I'm not going to leave her home alone. I need to be home for her. So that means I'm going to adjust my schedule and adapt it to make sure that I can still get everything done that I want to get done, but still honor what's my priorities and what's valuable to me. So now, has she needed me this morning? No, she slept the whole morning, but there's always those what ifs. So you need to make sure you're accounting for that as well as we're going through this. So how many of you look at your calendar and think, oh, it's doable? All these elements that I need to do are doable. I can do these. And at the end of the day, feel like I did them all. How many of you? Chances are there's one or two things on your list that you wanted to get done that you didn't get done. And it's okay. It's not that you don't need more time. What you actually need is just a better layout of the time you already have. And to be honest, I don't know about you, but I can get sucked into, we've gone through, there's a training we did a couple of years ago on, basically time, prioritization and identifying what's important, what's not important, what's a priority, what's not a priority, what's urgent, what's not urgent. And we forget that sometimes we get in that quadrant that's not important, not urgent, and we call that the time sucker quadrant, where we think we're scrolling and doing some research, right? Competitor research while we're scrolling TikTok or Facebook or Instagram Reels, when really all we're doing is wasting time and procrastinating. So it's not that you don't really need more time, we just need a better layout. And so that's why today I want you to be able to leave this training with a simple framework, right? And you're going to have like this template that you can repeat over and over and over again, but also make it adaptable as you move through so you can make adjustments to it, right? Because one of the things I think, and I'm guilty of this. I will focus so much, I'll be on like thinking about marketing, or I'll be thinking about clients or XYZ, and I'll kind of get like this tunnel vision where I lose sight or I sacrifice something on my schedule because I get solely focused, right? So before we dig into it, because this can be us really letting go of certain expectations of ourselves, okay? I want you to get grounded. So I want you to just take a nice deep breath in through your nose, hold it for a moment, and then exhale through your mouth. Drop your shoulders, because I want to remind you that you're not behind in your business. You're not behind in achieving your goals. You're exactly where you're meant to be because you're building the next level. Okay? We need to give ourselves grace to allow ourselves to be able to grow and think outside what we know is our box, right? So when you think of the word time blocking, what comes to mind? For me, when I think of time blocking, I'm thinking literally of visuals of blocks. And I've got numbers in them from 10 to 11, from this to this to this. And I feel like I have to have all the slots filled. But that's one of the traps, right? We don't give ourselves any buffers. So one, and what I mean by that, and how many of you ran into this when you go to different services, whether you're going to get your nails done, you're getting your hair cut, you have back-to-back contractors or something, right? If you're late, if one call takes a little bit longer or one appointment takes a little bit longer, guess what happens? Everything gets pushed out. And then that becomes unfair to the clients at the end of the day, right? And it becomes unfair to you, to your own family, to other obligations you might need to get done. The other common trap that we fall into is too many priorities. So we look at everything that's on our to-do list and we think everything is urgent. Everything has to get done today. Well, yeah, that's partly true, right? But in reality, how urgent is it? Yes, it might need to get done, but does it need to really get done today, or can it get done tomorrow or next week? And this is where that matrix that we talked about really comes into play, because you get to figure out what's a priority and what isn't a priority based on urgency as well. And then the other common trap is marketing's optional. Well, as a small business owner, marketing is not an option. We need to be focusing on it. We need to be working on it consistently. The beautiful thing is you get to define consistency. Consistency for you might mean I'm going to work on marketing Monday and Thursdays. And I'm going to make sure I have enough time for that on those days to get it done for whatever I need to get done, right? So that's the other common trap we fall into. Another one is no recovery time. So we burn out and we end up quitting, right? We need to make sure that we allow ourselves that downtime, that personal time to be able to really have the energy and the mental capacity and the emotional capacity to do everything that we need to do, right? And no, time blocking is not perfect, right? There's challenges with it. For some people, it's an amazing tool that they can focus on. It gets done. It's awesome. Other people struggle with it, and yes, it's not perfect, but it is an amazing tool because what we're focusing on is not that perfection, but we're focusing on the consistency, and for you showing up consistent daily and showing up consistent with intention. Okay. So that's the other thing that I want you to be thinking about is it's yes, consistent, but with intention. And that's where time blocking allows you to sit within that time and sit with intention that you're going to focus on this activity or this task or this conversation or this meeting, but you're doing it with intention. So to start, we want to look at how are we defining our tasks? So let's talk about if we create a bucket as a category. So think about bucket one, right? Or you could put them into columns, whatever might be easier for you to, I see buckets in front of me, so I can pick up the bucket and focus on that task. So bucket one, that category, that topic, that focus could be revenue, client, work, sales, right? Where you're making calls, you're delivering products, you're following up, you're working on proposals for clients, depending upon what your business is, service or product based, invoicing, anything that is to do with the actual income, the money that you are wanting to earn or are earning. Okay, so that's bucket one. Bucket two is that visibility, so marketing, right? Content that you're creating, emails, networking, collaborations, lead generation. So anything that gets you out in front of your potential clients or customers. So bucket three, that's the operations, right? That's where you're planning your business, you're doing your bookkeeping, accounting, you're working on the tech side of things, you're working on different projects that aren't necessarily associated with the revenue. Okay. So that might be working on a project about launching something later on in the year, but you have to do the background work of it first, right? And then the final bucket, that's your personal, that's your family, that's your rest time. So appointments, meals, workouts, running school errands, downtime to sit and just read or do some personal care, right? Those are your four main buckets. But the secret for time blocking to be effective, where you're setting yourself up for success and not for burnout or overwhelm. And this is like the secret sauce. And that's where you build in that flex and those buffer time periods, right? So a weekly catch-up period where you just block off 30, 45 minutes where it's what do I need to get done that I quite didn't get done this week so it doesn't go into my weekend or my days off, right? Not all of us work on Monday to Friday and have Saturday, Sunday off. Depending upon the product and service that we work in, Saturday and Sunday might be part of our work week. So that means you have to figure out what are your days off every week so you can then start to allow for those buffers to enable you to take that time off, okay? So when you think of those buckets, so revenue, visibility, operations, your personal life, right? What's the one that keeps getting pushed? What's the bucket that gets set to the side or ignored? Is it your visibility, the marketing piece? Is it the administration? Your personal life? What's the one? Think about it and drop it in the chat. Let me know. All right. So we're going to walk through a few quick steps. The first step is we're going to pick our weekly anchors, right? The non-negotiables. So start with what's already true for you. What are the non-negotiables? School drop-off, appointments, workouts. What are your standing commitments? So with this semester's new schedule, I need to pick up my daughter every day at 3:25. Her brother brings her to school, but he has after school obligations. So he ends an hour earlier than her now. So my obligation, I get to, right? It's not I have to, I get to pick up my daughter. I have that flexibility, which I love. So I get to pick up my daughter every day at 3:25. She's now playing tennis again. So I get to take her to her tennis lessons, right? What are the non-negotiables? So, and what time? So these are some of the questions you're going to want to ask yourself, especially once you know what your non-negotiables are, right? So what time of day are you the sharpest? Like, are you like an early bird where you get up and you want to just get going? And that's where you're like, you have the most energy. Are you a night owl? Are you kind of like the middle of the afternoon, late morning? What time of day are you the most sharpest? And then the second question you want to ask is, what days do you have the most interruptions? Do you consistently have certain days that have standing appointments and commitments? What days are those? And then what must happen every week for your business to grow? You need to answer those three questions. You need to know this information, right? So once you have those answers, then you move on to the next step. And that's where you choose what we like to call the power priorities for this week. So an example might be, I need to post 3 times a week and send 1 email. I need to close 2 proposals. I need to finish my onboarding system. What is my 2 to 3 power priorities for this week? Remember, you're going to be creating this so it's duplicable every week. That means what's priority this week may not be a priority next week. So you're focused on this week alone. Because if you think that then everything is a priority, then guess what? Nothing really is a priority because you've equated them all equally. And we know that's not true. So third step, once we know our priorities for the week, the third step is, do you like to do theme days? So if you know how your mind works and when you're the sharpest and what has to get done to get your business to grow and what your priorities are you able to identify themes for all of those elements? So Mondays might be a focus where you're doing planning and systems and content planning, right? So that's kind of your CEO day where you're putting your CEO hat on and you're not really looking at your client base or your customer base. Like you're actually, unless something happens to come up, right? So Tuesdays could be calls. If you're a coach or you're working with customers, your client days, right? Is it training? So for me, Tuesdays, I know I do this live training. So this is the day that I focus on working on the training element. So I'll spend time today creating the training for next week, putting together an outline. What does, quarter 2 look like for trainings? What is my theme every week? And I'll focus on the training element, the teaching piece for me, right? That's what my Tuesdays are normally filled with. And then every other week it's my networking, right? So there's that. So Wednesday could be deeper work where you're actually working with your clients and customers. Thursdays might be a marketing day where that's all about content creation, scheduling your clients, right? Outreach. Fridays might be something to do with administrative work, money, follow-ups, wrap-ups, right? So you want to start looking at what each day you want to have as a theme, if that is what works for you. Now, some of us, and I include myself in this, we can be scattered, right? We can set up a theme day and say, yeah, this is all I'm going to work on so I can stay consistent. But some of us work better when we have a jumble of priority focused topics where we're not doing the same thing all day long. Okay. If you know that's who you are, then you want to adjust your theme days to maybe, hey, I need to work on the things that take the most focus for me when I am my best. So if I am my best between 9 and 11 every morning, then the things that are going to take me the most energy to stay focused on and have the biggest impact on my customers and clients, then that's the time I want to do that. So that's why it's important to know when you work best, right? So theme days can be turned into theme segments where you're not having to do the same thing all day. You guys get to adjust with that. So for this training, we're just focusing on that theme day to make it simplified. And then you can always break it up to chunks and spread it across the days. For me, knowing marketing for me is a priority, putting myself out there. I put it on the calendar first because I don't want to, and this is what I recommend for you guys. Marketing isn't something that gets done when you have the time. Marketing needs to be done consistently every day, every week. So every day might be, every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. It might be every single day, but at shorter snippets, right? But you want to make sure that you're not scrambling to do your marketing, to play catch up with it. Because that consistency, no matter what platform you're on, the algorithm is going to lean into your consistency. Scrambling works against any algorithm, no matter where it's at in its lifespan, right? Because we know all the platforms are changing their algorithms on a regular basis, which means if we're not consistent, then we can't play into the algorithms no matter where they're at in the beginning of a new algorithm, the middle, or the end, right? So what does realistic marketing time slots or blocks look like for you? Is it 2 hours once a week? Because this is really based on what is your marketing strategy, which is a whole nother conversation, right? So is it 2 hours once a week where you're going to do batch content? Are you doing 30 minutes a day and that's your visibility habit? Are you doing 90 minutes twice a week where you're creating and nurturing, meaning you're getting on and doing engagement yourself inside of your own Facebook group, your own page, or other groups and pages, right? So you want to make sure when you're putting those blocks together of what you're working on every day, that you put marketing on first. You don't want it to be kind of pigeonholed in wherever it can fit, right? Because marketing has to be first for consistency purposes. The last thing you're going to do, that step 5, is this is when you're going to add in buffers. Now you have your calendar and you know what you're going to be working on every day or in time slots. You know when your marketing is, you know what, non-negotiables you have are in your calendar, right? Now you want to go in and you want to add your buffers and your flex time. So for me, I know if I'm done a coaching call, so say my client is from 10 to 11, then I block off 11 to 11:30. Why? Because sometimes my calls don't end right at an hour. Sometimes they go over by 5 minutes, right? Or they might end a few minutes early, but that time afterwards allows me to, one, kind of decompress from the conversation, to take the notes I've made and update, right? So I have a client portfolio. So in my portfolio for that client, I put all the information from that meeting. I create my follow-up email. I send it because normally my follow-up email, it contains what are their tasks to do, what are their commitments for the upcoming week before our next session. So that buffer allows me to complete all the things I need to do with that client. So then that way I'm not trying to 4 hours later go back and go, oh, what did they just say? What was that note meaning? Now, if I'm switching gears from marketing focus to administrative focus, then 15-minute buffer might be enough, because what I want to do is I want to make sure that I close up and stop what I'm doing. where it makes sense, right? Again, sometimes we might say we only need 30 minutes for marketing on this day. But guess what? It actually is like 35, right? So that 15-minute buffer allows you to close out when it makes the most sense and allows you to switch gears and start focusing on the next topic or focus. Okay. So make sure you're adding those buffer times in between your segments, your blocks. Then the last thing you want to make sure you add in to your calendar for the week is that one flex block. Now, I'll use Friday as an example, but it could be where it's a Tuesday for you because you have Wednesday, Thursday off, or you have every Wednesday and Monday off. But your flex box you want to have on the day that you know you have the following day off. So it's your weekend, it's your day off for the week, whatever that might look like, right? Because this is when you're going to address overflows where I didn't quite get done this, I didn't get quite done that, I didn't finish this. I need to reschedule some things. I need to look, okay, so this is maybe I have time to do what I had to reschedule from before. And then it allows you that space to give yourself grace. So like this morning with my daughter home, I was able to say, hey, yeah, so come Friday, I can actually make up for what I maybe have missed today, right? So I have myself that freedom of flexibility. And you know what it does? It protects your peace. It protects your ability to go, I don't have to stress about this. I'm good. I'm good because I got some time on Friday. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to put this in that time block and use up 15 minutes of that 60 to, 1 to 2 hour time block I did for flex time. So when we know that, that's where it starts talking about adaptability, right? When we know we have that flex time, when we know we have buffer time built in. I mean, yes, it protects our peace, but it also manages our stress and it allows us to kind of just take a breath and go, yeah, I got this. I can do this. I can do this. Got it, right? Now, if we are looking at options for scheduling, I'm going to go over quickly 3 simple schedule examples. And so the first one, right, is like a 2 big block week. And this is great for people who have kids, like young kids where they're responsible. So yes, my son is 17, but my daughter is 14. And so as much as he's way more independent, I still have her where I get to be involved and I'm much more hands-on, right? So when we're looking at the idea of 2 big blocks, we're looking at marketing a 2-hour block plus a 30-minute block where I'm nurturing clients. Then I might do clients 2 to 3 focused windows. And then Friday is my flex day. It's my catch-up day, right? So that's kind of the 2 big block week where we know we have lots to manage for our time and energy, right? So marketing clients, because those are the keys, right? Especially when you're looking at wanting to grow your business. Option B, right? Example B, right, is the daily visibility habit. And this is the one that you want if you want to really build your business, right? So it's best for growth. And that's where we're doing 30 minutes every day, where we're posting, responding, we're reaching out to potential clients or customers. We have 2 deep work client blocks. And then 1 block where it's just about our CEO mindset and what we're working on to run the business. Okay, so that's the second example. The third example is the theme day, and it's something that we kind of walked through earlier in the training. And this is best for those who love structure, where they like to see everything laid out, where they can kind of tick it off, right? So when we're talking about that, that's what we were talking about before. Monday is focusing on your CEO stuff. right? Tuesday calls, Wednesday about delivering, Thursday's marketing, and then Friday's your admin and flex day, right? So when you're thinking about your own personality, your own obligations, non-negotiables, what do you think would work best for you? Where you're really looking at two big time blocks, or where you're doing a daily visibility, or a theme day? Because when you sit and think with it, right, and just kind of sit with it and think about it, we have to honor who we are as a person. So this is where this holistic, the mind, body, spirit really is important, because the decision you make about time blocking and how to best manage your time has to be the one that settles your nervous system instead of triggering it and putting you into overdrive. So think about that. All right. Because that's the important piece for you to maintain consistency, that you can stick with the schedule. You have to make sure it doesn't trigger your stress or trigger your anxiety or trigger your nervous system. You want to choose one that you can sit back and go, that works. Got it. Okay. Oh. So what happens when something happens to blow up your week, right? What do you do? Because life happens, right? So we don't want to delete our plan. And this is why it's important to kind of have a plan laid out, an idea of what the week looks like, that works with who you are, that doesn't trigger stress or anxiety, settles your nervous system, because you're then able to adapt it. When shit hits the fan, you want to be able to still be consistent and meet your obligations and get shit done, right? You don't want to just delete the whole week, your plan for the week. You want to just be able to shrink it. Look at it and say, how do I shrink? How do I just downsize this? How do I maintain consistency, but still honor all the stuff that's blowing up in my face right now, right? One of the things I recommend my clients is we look at, what does the minimum effective week look like? What is the absolute minimum I need to do this week to still be effective and consistent? So it might be and look like where I only do one marketing block this week, just 30 minutes. I take one sales action, follow up, work on the proposal, get it out, do my DMs. What does that look like? One sales action. And then I do one admin block, invoices, scheduling. What does that look like from an administrative perspective? And then one self-care anchor block, where I get to go for a walk. I get to bed early. It's my time to make sure that if you do a Bible study or you do journaling or anything like that, that's about you, reflection of what's happening in your life, gratitude journal, then what's that one care that anchors you in? Because this isn't about just, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as I say. This is about you really being graceful with yourself, allowing you to lean into, still be consistent, still being showing up, but getting shit done. Okay. So you minimize it. Look at what is your minimum effective plan so you can still be consistent and still achieve your goals and still honor what else is going on. Okay. With that, you want to make sure that your calendar supports your goals, number one, and your life, right? So we're not trying to do everything. There's, if you really wrote down everything on your to-do list, right? You would be, you'd be overwhelmed. Just looking at it would send you to the moon, right? So you want to make sure it supports what your goals are in business, what your goals are in life, but who you are as well. right? So it's important to focus on not doing everything, but focusing on what matters. Okay. So your 3 next steps for this next week. You want to pick what are the 3 example schedules that we put together. So if you're going to do your theme days, then pick your theme days. 2 or 3 days, that's it. You don't have to do every single day, right? Schedule your marketing first in your calendar and then add 1 flex box. Now remember, your calendar, before you even sit down, the first thing you're putting in there is your non-negotiables. All right, so I know I have to pick up my daughter at 3:25. So from 3:15 to 3:45, I'm driving, right? So that's a non-negotiable. So I do these trainings from 12 to 12:45. So every Tuesday. So I know that's a non-negotiable. But I start working on the training like at 11:30 to get myself set up, prep, make sure, et cetera, right? So you put your non-negotiables in your calendar first. And then you worry about what are your theme days, what are the areas of focus, and then you schedule your marketing on that calendar week. And then you add your flex box. And then you go back in and fill in all of the different elements that you need to get done for the week. Okay. So I would love to help you guys work on your time management and your calendar. So please, if you have not taken advantage, if you're inside the Facebook group Savvy Women, if you've not taken advantage of your free strategy session, your clarity call, please do lean into that. We can work on your time management and your scheduling at that time. If you are inside the Women's Business Resource Community, getbizsavvy.com, as a free member, you're able to join the monthly Biz 101 coaching sessions. The next one, I think, is the second Wednesday of February. And then as a neighbor member, you access your bi-weekly coaching sessions. This week is not one of them. Next Thursday it is. So in those time periods where we meet for an hour, it is live coaching. You get to bring your questions and I help you through whatever you might need to get done and focus on. We can focus on time blocking during that period as well. There's a ton of resources inside the library. So getbizsavvy.com/library. You can find, I think there's almost 300 resources in there that you can access, a ton of time management and time blocking tools. And inside the replay vault, you want to access all of the past trainings. And there's one specifically on the Eisenhower matrix that we were talking about earlier, right? The urgent and important 4-quadrant structure. There's a training specifically on that. So go ahead and use that. That's an amazing tool to help you with making a priority of what your time blocks need to focus on. All right. I think that's it. I think we're good. Again, questions, lean in, ask away, post them in the group, come into the town square and post them in there and interact with us there to get more and direct support. I appreciate you all. Thanks for being here. And if you're in the Midwest, so Michigan right now is under this like super cold warning. It was crazy yesterday. So please stay warm, stay safe. Have a beautiful rest of the week. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you.